The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that, if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned.
I ain't drunk, I'm just drinking.
But you're so high.
Oh man, you know I ain't high.
But you're so high.
Yeah, well I just take a little sip every now and then.
But you're so high.
You ought to be ashamed of
Stay
yourself.
drunk all
Oh,
the
come
time.
on now, you all don't feel like that.
Bam! Hey kids, I am back. How are you? Welcome to JJ's Quadcopter Kitchen. Bam! I have not done a build video in a while. So I promised one of my guys that I would show how I do a HeadHunter. And I've also told some people, yes, I'll do a micro build. I haven't done a build on video for a while. And as you guys know, I build a lot of fucking birds. So we're going to do one right now. So if you remember a while back, I and Moka Frame, came up with the Moka JJ prototype, which is the 130 millimeter prototype, and we decided to make some changes. I built this, did a flight test. I'll put a video up here in the corner, and this is the prototype, so it's kind of hack, you know. I wanted Moka to lower it a little bit, change the he actually changed the TPU print so the camera will be out farther, so the props weren't in as much, a TPU mount for the back, the VTX, and he's also going to make it a little bit bigger because it's a very, very, very tight fit. And I believe Moka also made it, I made mine 20 millimeter high from their original 30, and I believe he compromised and made it a 22 to make it a little bit easier of a build. Thing turned out absolutely awesome. I love it. But that was the prototype. He sent me today the prototype. It's not the totally finished production value one, because the frame still has not been elongated. I believe Moka is going to make it 135 mil to give us a little bit more clearance on the boards from point to point, but the TPU has been changed to yellow by my request because I like yellow. I'm colorblind, but so I just kind of adopted yellow as my color because to me it's like a very bright white, and when I crash I can see it easier. Bam, that's why I do it. Yeah, so, and we got the TPU mount in the back for the VTX, 22 millimeter, I believe, and I left my damn scale in the house. Shit. Oh well. I believe that's 22 millimeter in the back. One of the things I also requested is that he made the TPU in the front half mount, because if you look at this, on the original prototype, it was a total snap-in, which is fine, but it could pop out, okay, in a big crash. So he made it a half mount like I asked, and yeah, bam, there it is. So, great. Carbon thickness is still the same, looks like a 3 mil. This is my broken calipers here. Yep, there you go. So yeah, let's see what this thing weighs, dried up. Dry weight. This, I believe, is going to be released on the Moka site, it will be called the Moka JJ. I believe it will be released in a week or two on the site, so pretty excited about that. Let's see what we get. All up, 34 grams. That's what TPU whole 9 yards. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's build this thing up. We're going to use the Moka JJ. We're going to use the Emax 1306 4000 kV, if I remember right. Yeah, they're the 4000s. The reason, and I don't like Emax that much. They're okay. They're well-made motors, but it's not my favorite. But when I used them on this guy, which was the original prototype, they flew great on 3S, and I ordered some small 800 4Ss for the test flight of this guy. So yeah, I decided just to use them again. So we're going to use 4 of those. For some reason, Emax likes to give you extra nuts. They give you 3 prop nuts per motor, which is whatever. Okay, cool. We're going to use the HGLRC F428. So it's basically an omnibus F4 with a 28 amp ESC. And we're going to use the Golden True Eachine VTX03 and a Foxeer Micro that I had laying around and a Tyrannus XM Plus. So very, very good. So to build a HeadHunter, what I'm going to do with this, we're going to pop this off from the bottom. So how you guys been? I can't remember the last time I did a fucking build video. It's been a while. But yeah, we're gonna do it. So what I do with these is I start from the motor side out. This is going to be the front. This is going to be, or the bottom, and this is going to be the top. We're going to leave the top over here for now. Okay, so, and I did flip Yoda upside down. He's under there, but I'm going to mount the motors first. That's just how I do it. Now, one thing I do is I put the bolts in a plastic thing like this, or sometimes a magnetic one, and then I take my thread lock, only ever use blue, and I put a little drop. It's better to use a magnetic. I don't need all these screws. They give you extra screws too, but fuck it. We're gonna go ahead and do it this way. I do this first, that way I can wipe off the frame, okay? After I'm done, and I don't get schmutz all over the place. So, this is easy enough. We're gonna have to grab a different Allen wrench, aren't we? Yeah, that's fair enough. So, what I usually do, this is not rocket science, is I bolt these in with a lid. Always use thread lock, guys. It's just money in the fargan bank, okay? Now, these Moka Simplex Type Pros only have 3 motor bolts, which is fine. That's all you need. Actually, you only need 2. A lot of my builds, I only use 2 bolts, but that's okay. Just depends on how OCD you are. Now, another thing to remember, here's a couple of tips. And you know, it's like, I used to do a lot of tech tips, and I forget. I really do. And since I don't do a lot of build videos, you know, it's like, you know, you take for granted all the little things that you do. So now that I'm doing a build video, I'll be like, yeah, now I can give you some tech tips. All right, so what we're going to do with this, when you're using thread lock, you do not have to torque the shit out of your screws. Just what you saw me do. Thumb tight, bam, you're done. So I'm going to do the other 3 of these. No need to watch me do that. Be right back. All right, we are back. So we have taken the top, okay, and mounted our motors upside down, HeadHunter configuration. And then we have taken the bottom and mounted those with thread lock. So don't forget the thread lock. Now, one thing I really recommend you guys do that you keep in your shop is a can of Bardwell baby wipes. Okay, these are for Bardwell size egos and butts. Okay, no, but seriously, what you want to do when you're handling shit with thread lock, always wipe off your stuff. Thread lock will eat through paint, it eats through lots of nasty, and you're going to see why in a minute. So, just real quick, no big deal. Now, bam. All right, cool. Keep that over there. And if you go to AutoZone or an auto place, you can get these like industrial paper towels. I always keep these on hand too. Okay. Now, one thing I'm also going to do is a heat shrink job. This isn't necessarily a gallery build, but I still want to make it look pretty cool. So we're going to do some heat shrink. One of the heat shrinks that I use is this stuff. Okay. Now, it looks like normal heat shrink, but it is not. It is the stuff with the glue in the center. It's got glue on the walls, if you will. Okay. So what I do with these is I measure the legs. I'm like, okay, right about to there. There's a mounting hole, and we're going to go to about there. It's not going to be very long. So we're just going to cut right there, and we're going to make 4 of those. Right, reasonably. Now, if this was a gallery build, you know, that I was going to auction on Patriot blades and stuff like that, I would spend a little bit more time with it. But this is just my bird. I don't get quite as crazy with it. Okay. Bam. There we go. 4 of those. Then what I do is I take my super duper heat shrink blower thing. I actually got this from Bardwell. I used to take it to the hotels with him when he traveled. But anyway, what I do is I spread the wires out. So they're all nice and level. And then you twist from this side, from the end, okay? No big deal. You're not going to see much of a twist with these just because there's not much, and it can relax a little bit. So, okay, we're going to retwist it here in a second. You're not going to see much of a twist or the pretzel effect that you see in my other stuff with these quite as much because you don't have much heat shrink. Okay. Now, another trick that I do with these, yeah, it's going to look like crap. It's all right. It's my bird. Another trick that I do with these is I will cover the heat shrink, or I'm sorry, I'll take a little bit of liquid soap on my fingers and run them down the wires, and then I put the heat shrink on, it slides right on. So now what we're going to do, you let that twist relax a little bit, and then you heat it up. These little heaters don't get that hot, so you're not going to burn the shit out of your wiring or anything like that. Bam. That's all it is to it. I do that to chill it off a little bit, and that's it. Nothing fancy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other 4 real fast, and I'll be right back. Bam, and we're done. Okay, so here's our bottom. That's the first one we did, which looks a little cheesy. That's okay. That's how it's supposed to come out. That's how it's supposed to look. And then we also did the back side too. Okay? Just my little signature twist I do on those. The next thing we're going to do, so those are good. And I like this stuff with the glue in it. It's nice and thick, and it holds its form really, really, really well. So the next thing we're going to do is our tower. Like I said, this is the HGLRC F428. So 28 amp BL Heli S ESC. And then we've got the F4, basically an omnibus, which is one of my favorite all-time flight controllers. A huge ass cap. Look at that. Look at that fucking thing. It looks like if Bardwell was tiny, that'd be like his little can of soup. Okay, so yeah, that's what they offer for that. For our mounting solution. So let's see what we got. Okay, so here's your F4 flight controller. Everything's labeled on it. See if I can see this shit. Okay, so right here we've got camera negative, positive, 5 volt negative, positive. That's your camera signal input, your video in, and then there's your VTX out. 3 volt. I'm going to grab the diagram before we wire this up, but everything's labeled on there. And then you also have an ESC port on the bottom side of that. And here's your ESC. Okay. So what they're going to do is you'll notice there's an arrow on the ESC right over here. And then you also have an arrow on the ESC, on the FC right there. Make sure these little pins line up. Check them from both directions. Bam. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of towers. I usually mix my own, like I'll use an ESC and an FC that aren't pinned, and to use a cable. Not a big fan of the pinning, but it is what it is. So let's see what our mounting hardware amounts to. Yeah, they're just using posts. That's easy enough. All right. Woohoo! Nothing but a peanut. So, damn it. Little fucking bags. All right. Come on, kids. All right, so what do we got? Got a bunch of little spacers, a couple little nuts, little Bardwell nuts in there. Look at that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we have a spacer that goes through underneath. So first you have a spacer, then you have a spacer, and then you have the nut. So we're going to go ahead and take these off carefully. Try not to bend those pins. It makes your life a whole lot simpler. So we're going to slide these through, and we're going to spin all these on. Ain't no point y'all watching this shit. You get the idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin these on first, lay down the ESC, and then put on the other spacers, so on and so forth. So I'll be right back. All right, see what we did there? Pretty easy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tin the power plug, and we're going to tin all 12 of those ESC pads. So that's, I'm actually gonna do this on camera. I usually don't. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but it's very, very quick to do. Now, a couple tips. Always use the right solder. This is the solder I use. I use it in the tubes because I always pull it out and use it by hand. It's just, for me, it's better. So the trick is, a lot of people say, oh, you have to solder at this temperature and that temperature. That's crap. What you want to do is get in and get out fast. So what we're doing is we're tinning. So it doesn't have to be super pretty. It doesn't have to be super melted in at this point because we're going to be adding wire to it anyway. Okay? Does that make sense? I'm trying to make sure I'm still in shot here. So we'll go ahead and do a few of these. Use the side of your iron. It transmits more heat, transmits it more faster. So you see how it's balling up. That is not a hot solder joint, okay? But that's okay. That's the way I want it, because when I put the wire on there after the fact, that's when I want it to be a nice, good solder joint. When it balls up like that, it basically tells me I'm not too hot. Now, if I let that iron really sit on there for a while, it's going to flatten out, but it gets so hot, you don't want to get that board that hot if you don't have to, okay? And by using the side of your tip, okay, you're transferring more heat quicker. If you just leave your tip on there, a little schmutz there, you're more apt to overheat the board. Does that make sense? Bam. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do, that's all tinned. See the little BBs? Boom. Bardwell says, good soldering takes a long time. That's why his build takes so long. Fucktard. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring down, I'm going to zoom back out, these other standoffs. Not but a peanut. Okay. Sweet. All right. Then you want to try not to hit those pins. those pins right there bend really fucking easy. So I use a little socket. Gives you a little bit better torque. Gets everything nice and tight. Bam-a-loomba. All right. Then we're going to mount our FC and then put on our standoff nuts. Okay. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Damn. All right. That's locked down. So pay mind to your arrows again. Okay, now I mounted my board in backwards. If you remember, this is the front. My arrow's pointing that way. So I'm going to end up remapping motors and doing all that stuff. And I'm not flipping it around because I don't care. That's okay. It's not a big deal. I actually very seldomly pay attention to how I mount my boards because I remap everything. That's just how I am. I mount it for the best way for the... this should be a $1.80 out. You should be having it. You should have the USB on this side, but that's okay. Good enough for the girls we date, all right? So how I get these little tiny Bardwell nuts on, I put them on the end of my thumb like this, and then I rotate my thumb just to get them started. Then I use the socket, and bam. Good. Oops, shit. Good as gold. Bam, okay. Not but a peanut. This is going to be a really fast build. Most of my builds are fast, actually. Doing it on video takes me forever. You know, it takes me an hour and a half instead of 45 minutes, but, you know, it's because I don't solder good like Bardwell does. All right, so, all right, we're going to torque these down a little bit. Not too tight. These are nylon. Now, one thing I do recommend you do on a big bird or a little bird like this is always use metal screws going into your primary standoffs down here. Maybe not necessarily all the way through the stack like this is, but at least into those, because when you think about a crash and you've got your battery strap going through here and you hit, that battery strap pulls back. How many times have you broken the nylon nuts? Then you have to take the whole fucking bird apart and fix it. Complete pain in the ass. So one of the things you want to make sure of, we've got forward mounting, rear mounting ESCs. You want to see what your clearance is going to be on your nose and all that good stuff. I'm going to have to mount this sideways. Damn it. Okay, because, well, maybe not. Maybe not. All right, one thing I had to do is I had to trim the TPU back a little bit right here. And I also think that I have to be very careful about these not touching the outer edges of the post. See what I mean? Watch this. It's not a big deal. But this is also, like I said, the prototype. The real version that you can buy online that's coming out in a week or so is going to have a longer body. So you're not going to have this issue that I'm having right now, which is not a huge deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off. So don't pay any mind to this, because if you ever order one of these, you're not going to have this problem. So what I'm probably going to do, just to be safe, yeah, see how those are touching right there? I'm going to wrap Captain tape around these posts. Bam, be good as new. No big deal. And the Captain tape is so thin that you're not even going to see it. So that's going to be simple to do. But the Captain tape is going to add an insulating factor, and that way we're not going to short out. And like I said, this is one of the provisions that we found in the original prototype, and we just haven't had, or Moka, I should say, not we, it's all him, it's not me. I'm just the dork that's building it. The one thing that we did find was we needed a little bit more room on the frame itself. So that's why it's going from a 130 to a, I can't remember, correct me Moka, 130 or a 135, 133 or a 135. I'm not really sure what he's going to make it. I think 135 would be better. It gives it a little bit more room for loving. Okay, bam. Nut but a peanut. Okay, so that's going to be good. The reason I'm not rotating the stack, okay, because a lot of you out there watching this think, well, just fucking rotate your stack so your motor sides are out the sides. That's the problem with buying, and I like the HGLRC stack, don't get me wrong, but that's the problem with buying a pinned stack. The FC has to go on a certain way, relative direction to the ESC. I can't just rotate my ESC, because if I do, then I've got my port shooting out the back or my USB port shooting out the front. I don't want that. I want it off to the side so I can actually get into the damn thing. Another thing I may do is sand those pins down a little bit too, but I think it's going to be okay. So that's that. What we're going to do now is we're going to, the whole point of this was we want to see how all this stuff is fitting. So how do we want to mount the wires? Okay, that's going to go like that. And we're just going to bring the wiring inside, just like that. Bam, not too tough. I could cut away that TPU. I don't want to do that though. So I'm going to go ahead and wire these up, solder them up, not a big deal. Yeah, we're just going to go across. Here's a little trick that I do. I'm going to try to do this in camera. I do this a lot, actually, okay? What I'll do is I'll solder the shortest wire to here, then overlay here, then overlay there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Use the tweezers if you got it. Saves your little fingers from getting cooked. So I'll wire the furthest one out first, heat through the wire, not the board, like that. Give it a little Bardwell blow. And then same thing on this side. And if you heat through the wire, chances are good you're not going to fry your board. Probably shouldn't be doing a build video with a prototype frame. Normally I would twist these more so they look cool, but you're not really going to see it. And I need all the wire I can get because I think my wiring is going to have to go like that. So I am going to go push this under a little bit, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to do the other side too. And I'll better up. Bam, little dabble do ya. So that's what we got. Now, looks a little funky. That's okay. Let me show you another trick to fix the funky. Now, one thing that I do, I take some conformal coat, and I always do, if I don't do the whole board, I do always do the motor terminals, because that's what's going to hit wet grass, that's what's going to blow up, this, that, whatever. So, bam. Yeah, that'll work, just like that. Pull this out a little bit once we do it, but other than that, That's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to do that. Like I said, this is going to get a whole lot easier when this frame is longer. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take an intermission right now because I need to go take my smoking hot wife to dinner. Bam, for our anniversary that was on day after Valentine's Day. So I'll be right back. Bam, and we're back. Sorry about that. Had to eat, had to take smoking hot out for dinner. Oh, 5 years, the best woman on earth. Anyhow, where were we? Okay, we're getting ready to wire up the board. So this is the easy part, right? So what we've got, I printed off the wonderful little schematic. All right, easy enough. So if you're looking at it this way, which we are, signal in, blah, blah, blah. There's S-bus, signal in, it's going over here. So we need all three of these. Battery, which we already have that. Tinned, so these bottom three. And signal, VTX, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tin these up. And then I'll probably solder them off camera just because, why not? I'll solder them up. I'll show you what I did. It's kind of the easier way to do it instead of dragging this shit out. So these bottom three, I'll go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. There we go. Might be able to see that a little bit. So these bottom three, we've got here. Stubborn. Soldering iron's not quite hot enough. Look at that. Bam. 3 little BBs. All right. And we already got the battery, 5.5 and ground. That's all tied together. Boot button, buzzer, which, am I going to use a buzzer? I don't think so. We're going to use motor beeper. That's a big thing for me. So, and then we're going to have the top three up here. Not but a peanut. Okay. And then we've got camera signal in, the other top three up here. And that's it. Sometimes you get the printing oil from the factory and it's a little bit bitchy to burn through. There we go. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do, I'll go ahead and do an overview. This is going to be our camera. So we're going to use, oh, this one's the Fox here. I was thinking that was run cam. Sorry about that. Stand corrected. So this is a 5-volt in. It can be greater than that. Not a big deal. So we're going to go ahead and strip all those. Bam, look at that. One shot. Okay. And we'll tin those up real quick like. You probably can't see that. Don't worry about it. So our camera, and this goes kind of an industry standard for you new guys that have never done this before. Video's yellow, black is ground, and red is your positive 5 volts. So, but the voltage on this can go from like 5 volts to 40 or some crazy shit. So what we can do, camera, we got 5 volt signal and ground. So let's see, maybe you can see this. We'll just do it real fast. What the hell? All right. Gonna be pretty. So I usually try to solder these going in the direction that the wire's going. Does that make sense? Like in this case, our camera's going to be over here, so I'm going to have the wires going this way. All right. So in that case, then we've got signal, and you might want to use the tweezers for this if you're a little bit new to it, or you don't want to burn your pretty little fingers. And then our 5 volts is on the outside. Easy enough. Bam, pretty. Pretty. See? That's what it looks like. So that's our camera, and our camera mount is going to go here. That's easy enough. See what I mean, though? If the camera was going this way, you wouldn't want the stress of the wires going the opposite way. Does that make sense? That way you're not stressing out your solder joints. Then as for our VTX, easy enough too. Oh, we need to do our super secret trick. Let me plug in my hot glue gun. Hang on a tick. Always prepared. There we go. All right. Let that heat up. Show you that trick here in a minute too. And then we've got our VTX, which is VCC. If you look at this, now it's dangerous, okay? VCC is not usually 5 volts. That's usually your battery voltage. I have a 5 volt power. So what we're going to do, VCC on this one, if you follow this over, is on the end. So I'm going to actually switch tweezers, because this camera can take a lot of juice. So we're going to bring it over to here. Okay. So let's verify that we're right. Yep, that's VCC. And then signal, then ground. So then we're going to take this, which is our VTX03. Easy enough. I never, ever, ever use the 5 volt outputs on these. Some people may. I don't need it. And I'm going to give myself a lot of room on the wires. Usually I make wires short, but I know this is going in the TPU. So that's something we have to think about too. So if this is our TPU and it's going this way, yeah. I have not done a test fit on this yet. It's going to go like that. Yeah, it's going to fit fucking cool. All right. Bam. All right. We'll worry about that later. So, go ahead and strip all these at the same time as well. Bam. Look at that. So you know you do too much soldering. We can do it that quick. All right. But if you listen to Bardwell, man, that shit takes forever. It takes that fucker 7 hours to put batteries in a TV remote. All right. One of the things while I'm soldering this up, this same rule applies here, only this yellow one's going to be your video out, not your video in, like the camera was. Okay. Bam. Then our signal is going to go here. Hopefully you can still see this. Let me zoom in. Sorry about that. Signal goes center. Ground goes the opposite. And then we're going to use this 5 volts over here. Bada bing. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to twist this guy up. Now, when I twist these, I hold it at the bottom, and I go like that. That way you're not stressing out the solder joints. Then usually what I'll do is I'll heat it up a touch. And that will give you the memory, the wire memory, so it won't want to unwind on you quite as bad. Then we need to make a pigtail for our battery. I might already have one of those set up. Fuck, probably not. That's okay. I did. I don't know what the hell I did with it though. That's okay, we'll make a new one. We're gonna come off the side on that, and then the only thing left really is a receiver. So in this case, we're gonna use the VTX03. I'm gonna put some new wires on it. What did I use on this? That's some funky ass tape. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up real quick, put some new wires on it, we'll solder it up. Be right back. All right, and we're back. So I put some fresh wires on the XM Plus. This is a Taranis XM Plus. One of the things I do recommend, they put this caulky shit on the antennas with the XM Plus. Don't trust it. It comes off all the time. It's not going to hurt anything if it does. It's just going to screw up your reception. Now, don't do what I just did and get hot glue over your bind button. It's okay. Now, the reason that I put Kapton tape around this, I don't know what fucking Tyrannus does, but double-sided tape will not stick to their shit. I don't know why. And I always mount my receivers with double-sided tape. So I put Captain tape around it because it's nice and light. Works great. Sorry, I'm not shot there. And bam, there we go. We're good. Good as gold. So here is our beast. Da-da-da-da. And then our receiver is going to go on those bottom three. So if you look at our diagram here, signal in is top, 5 volt is bottom, and ground. Wait, am I reading that right? I'm trying to do it through the friggin' camera. Let's see. They changed this one around. Ground, yeah, ground center. Okay, I was right. And then signals at the top and positives at the bottom. So that's easy enough. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And then that is it for the connections. Okay. Ground and signal. Now, always, 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 always bear in mind, try not to solder over your flight controller, meaning I'm soldering from the outside. You don't want to be going from the inside, because if you drop any solder on the chips, bad things are going to happen. You can fix it. I've fixed them before, but it's not the most fun you'll have on a day. So, all right. Bam. Cool. That should be it. And I pre-wound that wire as well. So the VTX is going to go out the back. We're going to do our heat tip trick on this. Let's see. Got some yellow. Hope that's yellow. I know this is yellow because my heat shrink doesn't come in white. Go around that. So what I do with this is I take my heat shrink and I cut it so it's about, I put it down to the base. I did a video on this a long time ago and people love it, and I do it all the time. And I cut this. This is to keep your antenna from breaking and popping off. Then we take our trusty hot glue and we just do the stem. Then we slide the heat shrink over just like that. Okay. Now we heat it up. Okay, now that does two things. You're like, why did you put hot glue all the way up the stem? What this does is the heat shrink will keep your antenna down here from popping off, from that connector popping off in a crash. But what it also does, by putting the hot glue on just the wire part of the antenna, is anytime you want, you can heat that up with a lighter or a heat gun like I just did and bend it into any position you want and it will freeze there. I've been doing this for a long time, never broke a frickin' antenna, and it just frickin' works. It's awesome. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take our TPU off of the top. Love it. Okay. And we're going to screw in the camera. Man, this is frickin' sharp. I like this. Okay. I guess there's really no point in you watching me do this, so I'm going to go ahead and throw the screws in off camera, and I'll be right back. All right, and we're back. So one quick trick I want to show you. It's not really a trick, but when I do my XT30s and my XT60s, I usually don't heat shrink the actual wires, which a lot of you are like, oh, dude, you got to do that. I don't. What I do is I can formal coat them in case any debris or any crazy shit gets in there. That's going to keep you from shorting, okay? Then I take a piece of heat shrink, I put it over the top, and then we heat it up. And, takes a second for this thing to heat up. And plus gives it a little flare, gives you something a little grippy. I should have pulled that up farther, but that's all right. Bam. Probably still can. Yeah. There we go. Not too bad. All right. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to solder this in. Easy enough. Positive and negative. Positive's on the left. Okay. Again, heat through your wire. And that is it. Okay. And then we give these a twist. While everything's good and hot. And it should reasonably stay there. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do this off camera. I'm going to slide the camera back in. Well, I suppose we can mount this receiver. How do I want? Now I'm going to mount the receiver at the top of the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and screw the frame back together. Now let's see. Do I want to do it that way? Yeah. So we're going like that. Yeah, we're going to have to go on the inside. Hopefully I don't have to extend these wires. So what I am going to do this off camera because there's no point in fiddling around and having you guys watch this shit. And I will go ahead and get this saddled up. And hopefully I don't have to extend these wires because that's going to suck. Be right back. All right, and we're back. So I did do that off camera real quick. I temporarily put in a couple screws on the back side just to make sure everything was going to hold together okay, and it looks like we soldered up pretty decent. Okay, that's what she looks like. It is a little bit tight. I wish these motor wires were longer. If I was doing this build for somebody else, I would probably extend those wires to make it neater, even in the front. It's just it's not the frame's fault. It's these motor wires they give you from Emax. They're just not that long. So, but yeah, we're getting there. So now what we're going to do a prostate check. And what that is you put your meter, or if all you've got is a Bardwell $4,000 battery tester, that's what you use. Use your meter, put it on continuity, okay? Let's make sure nothing's gonna go south of cheese here and blow up, okay? So, one end on positive, one end on negative. Perfect, okay. That one beep is good. That means it's just a capacitive discharge, and if it beeps full throttle, it means you have a short to ground. That's not bad, or not good, I'm sorry. So what we're gonna do now, I'm going to pop the top back off. We're looking, let's see, got enough room for my receiver up top there. We're gonna stuff that little remote doohickey for the camera down below. No big deal. I'll fuck around with that later. All right. And we're gonna run this wire out through here, and we're gonna run this down. I think I'm probably going to do the antenna tubes probably just the same way I did them on the prototype. I think I'm just gonna run them on the top. You know, I'm not gonna get too fancy with it. So let's pop the top off here. This, again, prototype panels. The finished version is going to be a lot nicer. You're going to have more room. This is very, very, very tight. Okay, so and then we kick it back like that. Bam. Make sure our VTX is going out the back. Okay. And then we're going to peel our double-sided tape off of our receiver. And we're going to stick that to the roof or the ceiling. Top plate, whatever you want to call it. And then we are done, son. Pop this puppy back together. Man, I haven't done a build video in a long damn time. You can tell too. All right, cool. So then we're going to slide our TPU mount on the back so we get our VTX in there, and that's going to be it. So let me just go ahead and do that off channel here, off camera. No point in you sitting here watching this, and I'll be right back. Bam, and we're back. So there we go. TPU is installed. Yeah, cover's on. Everybody's happy. Canopy's tight. Camera angle. This is going to be much nicer when the finished version is a touch longer because it's still a tight build. Don't get me wrong. This is not for the faint of heart, this particular model. Okay, the ones that will be for sale be a lot easier than this. That's okay. It's got to be a little creative. Watch this. DTX antenna. We're going to bend that. A little bit of a Bardwell blow. Remember that trick I showed you with the heat shrink in here? Bam, forever. Now, for the antenna tubes, like I said, I just cut a couple. I get this shit off. Oh, man, look at that. I get this shit off Amazon. I don't know, it's Great Plains, or it's just antenna tube, nothing fancy. And I'm just going to go old school. I'm just going to double-sided tape. One there, one there. Not but a peanut. Nice and easy. Believe it or not, how I do these is pretty simple. Not rocket science at all. I take my ultra awesome double-sided 3M tape. Ooh, that didn't work out. Razor blade shit, okay? But this is the only thing I use, and believe it or not, it stays on great. Get rid of that, that's nasty. Get a whole new blade here. It's usually a good practice to clean your bird with rubbing alcohol before you apply this stuff. But the thing people make a mistake with this super duper double-sided tape that we all use, and this is Scotch, not 3M, sorry. This stuff is awesome. It's like 30 pounds per square inch of stuff. But it is a glue, believe it or not, on the bottom. If I pull on it right now, it's probably going to pop off. You want to make it, just try not to stress it out. Let it sit for an hour and it'll be great. So we slide our antenna through. Give it a yoink. Okay. There's one side. And you can do antenna tubes any way you want. I mean, it's not, you don't have to do it this way. This is just my little cheating way. I don't do it like this with big birds. I usually put them behind the arms right here. But since these are so, micros are so much smaller, you don't have a lot of room. But trust me when I say this shit will hold up in a crash. Bam, look at that. How about a peanut? Look at that shit, kids. Woohoo! So, let's do another prostate check just to be sure. Not getting any direct shorts. Nice. Believe it or not, I have had it where everything was fine, and then I put the frame together and I got a short because there was a wire pinched inside the frame somewhere, and then all your plans go to shit for the day because you just blew up your FC. Okay, so that's bad math. Let's see if we got some props here. I don't think I've got any yellow props. Fuck, they might be. I don't even know. Are these yellow? Green. Oh well. Explicit will be happy with the green. So these are freaking cool little props, man. I put these on the prototype and it's just balls to the wall. So your front props are just like, I'm not going to tighten these up, are just like a normal quad. Actually, all four are just like a normal quad. This is where people get confused. Okay. And your bottom props in the back, they still go the same direction, and do not flip the prop upside down. Put it on like you normally would. Whew, look at that. That's clearance, kids. Put them on like you normally would. They still spin the same direction. Just make sure you don't skull fuck yourself and think, oh, I got to put my props on upside down. Not how it works. Wow, that's close. That's awesome. And there we go. Moka JJ. Look at that bad beast. That is pretty sweet. Now that's the prototype number 2. Still has a little bit of work. The only thing left to do on this, according to Moka, and I agree, everything's perfect, except we need to make the frame just a couple millimeters longer on each panel so we have a little bit more room in there, and bam, she's perfect. And there's the original prototype. Okay, you can see camera sticks out better, TPU in the back. Other than that, it's almost the same. Great. That is that, kids. Bam! Moka JJ, HeadHunter. Cool. Hope you liked it. Have fun. Keep shiny side up. And that's the nice thing about HeadHunter. No matter how you land, you're always right side up. Take care, kids. Bye.
Bam, JJ!
Bam, JJ! Hope you like fishing.